Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tori if you're new here. And today we are going to discuss some items that I think everybody should be stockpiling right now. If you are new here, hi, hello. I make videos all about prepared life on a budget. I love to show you how to save money. And right now we're focusing on food, but of course we do sprinkle in a touch of survival. I am a mother to 3 and that is where my preparedness comes from. So we take a calm approach and we take a positive approach to this prepared life. We prepare for any emergency that life throws at us. So if you like that kind of thing, definitely hit the subscribe button and let's get right into today's video. Okay, hi. So first of all, thanks so much for the love on last week's video. That was so very kind of everybody. I am just feeling very supported right now. So the goal today was to just sit down and kind of chat with you, but I did plan to have a recipe video. I was restocking the kitchen with made from scratch items and that video just didn't work out. So that will come after this one, but I have a break to just chat with you about some food items that I've really been seeing going up in price, or I've been seeing not a lot of at the store. So when I'm talking about the store, I'm talking about my local grocery stores, but I'm also looking at online stores, and I will get to which ones I think are the best here in this video. And then I'm also looking at some local places that we usually get items from that are going way up there in price. And although we want to support local, sometimes it's not possible. So I will start off saying that with this video, you can try your best to eat the healthiest and nourish your family in a way that you feel is morally, ethically, and sustainably sourced. But sometimes that's very hard. So I do like to approach this wellness journey that we're on with an 80-20 mindset. We can't always be perfect. And even if we want to indulge here and there, that's okay too. And I feel like that's an important attitude to take into 2024. This year is going to be a little wild, so I hear. So I just feel like it's very important to give yourself some grace. So if you are just starting out your prepper journey or your wellness journey, I feel like grace is a common ground that we can all just bring into our lives, and it can keep us positive on this journey. So I thought it would be interesting to look back into my videos 2 years ago and then last year and then in the last month, and I compared prices of basic items that I usually get at the grocery store. And I know that's a lot of I's and me's and my family in one sentence, but I did try and choose things that people typically are buying. So you do have to factor in your own family's wants and needs. You have to factor in your own diet, but we eat the basic standard American diet, but I'm going to put some air quotes around that because if you have looked at the new food recommendations in the last couple of years, it is absolutely insane. So we don't really follow those 3-letter word agencies and what they tell us to eat, but we do follow intuitive eating, what we know our body needs, what makes us feel good, and just keeps us going on this wellness journey. So I do want to make that disclaimer. Absolutely take this list with a grain of salt, but I feel like this will be important to carry into 2024, seeing the trends in the economy as well as the trends in my own local area. So if you didn't know, I live in Colorado, USA. So my research is in this area of the world. And if you live in a different part, that's totally fine. This may affect you as well, but you do have to do your own research. So number 1 on this list is going to be eggs. I'm seeing it everywhere. But we had this problem a couple of years back, and then a bunch of us bought chickens and then put them in our little backyard homestead and kind of got the ball rolling. I'm not naming any names, but we went with it and it's going well. So I have chickens and ducks. I have 10 birds total. And I am so thankful for these eggs, but I do have to talk about that in one moment. The reason why these eggs are going to skyrocket in price is because there was some disease at a plant, is my understanding. And I don't know if that disease was intentional or perhaps the birds just caught it. But the significance of that plant, they supply a lot of eggs to the United States and and they ship some off as well. So those egg prices not only are going to skyrocket, but you might not be seeing any. So a lot of people may jump on that bird bandwagon again and run out and buy some chicks. I know it's very tempting. Tractor Supply has their chick season. All of the hatcheries are selling their tiny, cute little birds, and it's cute. I get it. I think it's really fun, but you do have to factor in a few things before you run out and buy some birds. So that is the cost of feed. That is the startup cost to keep them in a space that will keep them healthy. You have to factor in basic upkeep, water, supplements, things like that. And then I also just wanted to briefly mention ways to preserve those eggs. So after you bring them in and you have some clean, fresh eggs, you can immediately put them in some lime and water, and you are going to essentially water glass them, and they can be shelf stable up to 2 years. They lose their consistency, but flavor wise, I feel like they taste the same. You could also do pickled eggs, which is what I like to do. I'm going to show you a recipe in that upcoming video, but we are doing the Pennsylvania Dutch pickled beet eggs, and I absolutely love them. If you didn't know, I'm from rural Pennsylvania and I am Pennsylvania Dutch. So we grew up eating those pickled eggs. You could totally just leave the beet out if you want, but they can stay in your fridge for a very long time. If you didn't know, you can bring those eggs, if they are pretty much clean and ready to go, and set them out on your countertop, and their shelf life is going to be pretty long. Of course, if they're staying on your counter for over a month, I would suggest doing a float test. So you put the eggs in some water, and if they float up, that's a no-go. So I would not suggest bringing them back into your pen and giving them to your chickens. You could just toss them, or you could put them in your garden beds. Roses love eggs, so I always do that. Another thing you could do is freeze dry them if you have a freeze dryer, but that's kind of an expensive upfront cost. I do want to make a distinction because there was some confusion in the last video. A freeze dryer and a dehydrator are two different ways to preserve food. Freeze drying food essentially is better because it keeps all that nutrients in, and it really does take all that moisture out of your food, making the shelf life a little bit longer. And then dehydrated food is going to be a similar process, but it's not the same as a freeze dryer. So yes, dehydrators are very inexpensive compared to a freeze dryer, but they're not the same thing, so you can't interchange them. And then last but not least is honestly my favorite. Whenever we have an excess of eggs, I like to either do deviled eggs or I like to do breakfast burritos. So I just scrambled some eggs. I do sausage, breakfast, steak, whatever we have on hand. Sometimes I even do chicken or pork, put some cheese on there and some green chilies, and I just cook that up, roll it up, and then put it in the freezer, vacuum seal it, and it will last me a very long time. So that's another way to use up eggs, but enough on eggs. We are moving on to the next thing that I think you should stock up on, and that is going to be meat. If you eat it, if you don't, cool, that's fine. But I do. It makes me feel nourished, and I think it's an important thing to stock up on because I have seen the price rise $4 in the last 2 years, and that may not seem like a lot to some, but wow, it adds up, honestly. So ground beef is a good thing to stock up on. I try and do grass-fed, grass-finished, but sometimes I can't find that. So honestly, this is where the 80-20 really comes into play. And then I look towards the game meat. So I enjoy bison. I really love venison, and I love elk. So those are some really good ones to pick up when they are on sale. You could always look around towards your local ranchers, ask a neighbor, ask a friend if they want to split a cow with you, honestly, because it would be much cheaper if you were to grab that and then just put it in the freezer for a rainy day. All right, another one on the list is going to be flour, and that has raised $1.30 in the last 2 years, which again, that one doesn't seem like a big cost increase, but that doesn't help us for the future. Flour is a good one. It can make a lot of different items, and typically it's cheap, but it's going up in price. So I love Azure Standard. I talk about them often. I suggest buying from them. You can order online, then you go to a drop site if they have one in your area, which they probably do, and you get to unload the cart and talk with some like-minded people, and you get to just form this little community. I absolutely love their service and I think it's awesome. I find that their flour is good quality, it's organic, and it's unenriched, and you can buy it in bulk and store it in Mylar. You could store it in some jars and vacuum seal all of that out of there, or you could even put them in 5-gallon buckets with a gamma lid, which is what I like to do. You can find those 5-gallon buckets free in a lot of different places. I know Firestone Subs does sell them for $3, and I think they're old pickle buckets, but I could be wrong. And I think you really should stock up on flour. Another option would be, if you didn't want to do any of those things that I just said, you could go to Costco. They have a really good organic unenriched flour. I talk about enriched food a lot and how it's just really not the best for us. I promise. Give yourself a month off of unenriched food and you will see probably not a complete 180 in your mood and behavior, but you're going to see an improvement. If you didn't know, our food system is very flawed, and I truly believe that a lot of that is intentional to keep us sick, to keep us dependent on the powers that be. So if you are new here, I do have that very strong opinion about our food system and our government. Next on the list is going to be good quality dairy. I can always find cheap store-bought cheese on sale, but good quality full fat dairy is going up in price, and I love to buy organic. Sometimes I'm even able to find some local stores around here that sell it raw, although that's a little tricky because it's technically illegal. It depends what state you're in. But good quality high fat dairy does contain some good protein for you, so I like to stock up on it. It's part of my daily routine. So when I went to the store and saw it skyrocket in price, it made me go to another store, and at that store it skyrocketed in price, and then I would go to another store and it wouldn't be there. So it just got me thinking, and I stock up when I can. And my only problem is that it's not very easy to preserve. Of course, you could throw it in the freezer. I see some people take their dairy and flip it over when they put it in the refrigerator, and that is said to make it last longer, so you could do that too. Of course, if you have that freeze dryer, that could be an option, but I like to eat mine fresh. So some dairy items that we enjoy every week is of course going to be cheese. We try and go raw organic, and we also like cottage cheese. I love the Good Culture brand. I talk about them a lot, but it has about 15 grams of protein, so it's a good one, and the taste is really amazing. We also do sour cream, and oftentimes we are going to our local dairy to get our heavy cream, and we like to make our own butter with that. So I will show you in the next video how we do that, but it's something that we enjoy as a family, making butter together. It's very easy to do, and I love knowing where our dairy comes from. We also do pick up some kefir from them, and of course your classic whole milk. Some other items that you should be picking up right now are dried shelf-stable items like beans and rice, and a lot of preppers talk about that, but I feel like I haven't talked about it in a while, and it is something that I'm still picking up weekly to put back for a rainy day. And rice should definitely be in your prepper pantry right now just because of the price and the stock here available in the United States. I'm seeing a lot of people commenting on my videos saying that they are looking at their Best By dates in their grocery stores, and they are getting closer and closer to the present year. So that is a little daunting. A lot of people, when they think of food shortage or inflation, before shooting down the idea entirely, they make sure to tell me that it's not going to happen. But I urge you to dive a little deeper. We have just seen a major bridge accident, and that gave access to a main port that allows a lot of products to be here in the United States. Not a focus on food necessarily, but there are some things to be said about that port. So definitely go ahead and research the non-fact-checked articles and do some digging about that accident in Baltimore. Another thing to blame for those expiration dates are those shipping delays. There are ships sitting with food right now that have food on there from 2020. So we need to think about that too. They don't have enough workers to work that ship to get that food off of there. It's sitting in the heat and the elements. It's 2024. So you really have to start thinking about our food sources from so many different ways. All of that to say rice and beans are great to have have on your shelf. Typically they are inexpensive, but in the last 2 years there has been an increase. India has stopped exporting their non-basmati rices, so it's leading to other countries who produce that for us. They don't have the same farming practices and their cost is going to be more expensive. Something that you should always be stocking up on, but I do say it in every video because it's the most important one, is going to be water and a way to filter that water and make it clean. I feel like that is going to be a problem in the upcoming years. So always keep some extra water on hand. And it's not just for drinking. The best way to do this, the way that I did it, was go about my day and I wrote down every single time I used water and what I used it for. And then at the end of the night, my husband and I kind of went through that. And then we went through scenarios of when we lose water, what do we do? And there are a lot of options out there. Find a Spring is always linked in my description box. And that will give you access to springs near your areas. But if you don't have any near you, you'll have to think about getting water from a larger body of water. So that is something that's always spinning in the back of my head. There is a river close to us, and I think that's what we would do in the event of an emergency. We have collapsible 25-gallon jugs. We have about 10 of those, and we would bring them to the water. And then you have to think about bringing them back because that jug is going to weigh 60 to 70 pounds. So I always suggest grabbing a fold-up wagon or even use a baby stroller. But that river is not necessarily close to us. So that's just a scenario I ran in my head for you to get you thinking about that in the event of an emergency. And last but not least on the list is going to be produce. Produce of all kinds. We're just going to do a whole umbrella of it because honestly, I have been seeing so many issues with supply chain. The states that are typically our largest provider for produce around the globe and them having terrible weather for having a very low crop year. Strange laws put into place by government not allowing organic farmers to grow their produce in the proper way. Appeal is out there. If you didn't know about that Billy G is funding, and essentially it is a sealing, a coating of something to put around the produce to make it last longer. So it was revealed that they had to say what that something was, and it is a byproduct of heavily processed seed oils, believe it or not. I know that's not very shocking to a lot of you, but if you didn't know, seed oils are terrible for you. I would suggest going with something like olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. Of course, read the back, make sure that's all that there is. Even those oils have some issues, so maybe switch to some tallow, some ghee, or some grass-fed butter for your cooking needs. Another thought to have is taking seed oils out of your diet. I am a firm believer that the sun is such an amazing resource for us, and when we have seed oils in our system and expose ourselves to the sun, that opens up a variety of problems for us. So I would consider doing some more research on the correlation of seed oils and the sun, sunscreen, issues caused from the sun, things like that. If you can't tell, not a big fan of seed oils, and I'm not a big fan of how long it actually took for Appeal to actually reveal what is in their products because it's taken a long time. I am in no way, shape, or form taking health advice from that investor of Appeal. I don't trust him on anything. So whatever he says to do, I typically do the opposite. I know a lot of you feel me in the comments, so definitely leave me some love down there and let me know I am not alone. So for produce, there are a variety of ways that you can go with this. You could stock up on canned foods if you want, because of course there is still fresh produce in those canned items. And I do always say, look at the item in food shortage, look at the item that has an inflated price, and then see all that it touches. A food shortage or an inflated price of corn doesn't seem like a big deal to most, but corn, we use it for feed for our animals to produce meat and dairy for the country. We use corn in most of our processed foods. So if you love that in your kitchen, definitely look into stocking up on those processed foods. I know everyone's not perfect, but they are cheap to have on hand. But if there is a main ingredient in there that is in food shortage, you best believe that that processed item is going to go up in price. So again, think of that item and think of every single thing that it touches and then make your list accordingly. Another way to combat this inflation or food shortage is to have a garden. I, of course, don't have that large of a property, but we do pretty good with growing our own food. I always suggest stocking up on non-GMO heirloom seeds so you can save your seeds and create more produce for the future. Alrighty, my friends, that is going to do it for this list. I hope this was inspiring. I hope this motivates you to stockpile and prep on the cheap for any emergency that life throws at you. If you are new here, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button. I do have to mention we have a lifestyle, homesteading, motherhood channel as well. I will link that in the description box below. If you like that kind of content, you can definitely subscribe over there. We would love to have you. All the links that I may have chatted about are going to be in the description box, but if you don't see one, drop a comment below, and I am pretty timely in responding, but I do have a lot going on in life right now. So thank you for your patience. As always, stay adventurous, stay creative. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Hope you're doing well wherever you are out there. Bye, y'all.